Hi, I'm Mary Kopczynski, the CEO of Regulator. Welcome to this week's Regulatory Roundup. This week, there were 879 alerts from 207 unique U.S. regulators, and 279 had to do with coronavirus. That's about 200 alerts less than normal, which, believe me, is a huge relief. Thanks to Eugene from FTF for suggesting overseer of state regulators for the word I was looking for in the last roundup. My issue is that these organizations don't necessarily have binding authority over the states. So for now, I'm sticking with state regulatory associations to describe entities like the National Association of Insurance Commissioners. The regulator of the week is Idaho. The Idaho governor announced a plan to offer up to $1,500 cash to Idahoans who return to work. More than 60% of Americans who are out of work due to the coronavirus pandemic earn more with the enhanced unemployment benefits than their normal wages. So Idaho is literally kicking people in the pants to get them off unemployment and into the workplace. The topic of the week is the PPP distribution. What I mean here is the giant federal outpouring of cash to keep the economy afloat, and how the states, like Idaho, are ensuring that it gets to everyone, including those who fell in the cracks. With states like Illinois announcing their unemployment filings are 11 times the normal volume, the federal government needed to make some modifications to the Paycheck Protection Program, which happened last Friday with the passing of the Paycheck Protection Program Flexibility Act of 2020, which provides greater flexibility to restaurants, hotels, and other small businesses to use the loans. It also increases the loan forgiveness period from 8 weeks to 24. Also, the Federal Reserve Board announced an expansion in the number and type of entities eligible to use its municipal liquidity facility. Under the new terms, all U.S. states will be able to have at least 2 cities or counties eligible to directly issue notes to this facility, regardless of the population. Governors of each state will also be able to designate 2 issuers in their jurisdictions whose revenues are generally derived from operating government activities such as public transit, airports, toll facilities, and utilities, so they can directly use the facility. The Federal Housing Administration announced a new temporary policy that provides guidance for lenders to obtain FHA insurance endorsements on mortgages where the borrower has requested or obtained a COVID-19 forbearance. This temporarily reverses the current FHA policy, which states that mortgages that are in forbearance are not eligible for FHA insurance. Now, how to ensure that all of this federal support gets distributed to those who need it most, and that's where the states come in. Pennsylvania is considering that for every action by a landlord against a tenant from March to July, that they have to file an affidavit of compliance with the Federal CARES Act. Tennessee announced a new relief program that will direct approximately $200 million in federal coronavirus relief funds directly to small businesses in Tennessee. They also went to great lengths to remind beauty salons, barbershops, and nail salons that they're eligible for the funds. I don't know about you, but I've had to explain to a number of my fellow business owners that there is support out there for you if you need it. The Illinois Emergency Management Agency is leading the charge for all of the Illinois local governments to get their paperwork signed and to get funding in the door. They are also reminding nonprofits and houses of worship that they too qualify for federal public assistance funding. Also, the Rhode Island governor announced a proposal for financial support for small minority-owned businesses in the state. But there are still gaps. The CME Group produced a study showing that COVID-19 continues to impact farmer sentiment, and the majority indicate that some sort of economic assistance bill is necessary. So more carve-outs need to be made to ensure the support flows everywhere. So now, in alphabetical order, is the topic rundown. For those of you following cannabis, the Illinois Department of Financial and Professional Regulation announced today it has filed permanent rules for cannabis dispensary licensees to be selected in the event that two applicants tie in the application process. Illinois has prided itself on having the most equitable cannabis rules, and the governor there has expunged over 11,000 of 700,000 cannabis possession convictions, apparently more to come. For those of you following climate change, the First Lady of New Jersey, Tammy Murphy, announced that New Jersey will be the first state in the nation to incorporate climate change across education guidelines for K through 12 schools. For those of you following crypto, Box withdrew its proposed rule change for the Boston Security Token Exchange again. So we start over. That's right, folks. 1 regulation, 2 amendments, 3 different websites, and 24 alerts. We are able to keep you up to date on all of them without confusing you. The Alabama Securities Commission issued an emergency cease and desist order to Swift Tradings, a Bitcoin and securities trading platform, for multiple violations of the Alabama Securities Act. Swift Trading failed to comply with Alabama law and meet registration requirements for investment advisors and securities. The company also misled investors with promises of preposterous returns, concocting account statements, and failing to disclose their fee schedule for investment accounts. Also this week, the Office of the Comptroller of the Currency is proposing rules for the digital activities of national banks and federal savings associations. The proposed rule has a 60-day comment period ending on August 3rd, and they're looking for feedback on whether the rules create unnecessary hurdles or burdens to innovation, whether there are digital banking activities that are not covered, what additional considerations due to COVID-19 should come into play, and what activities are the constituents involved in that are related to, for example, cryptocurrencies, crypto assets, distributed ledger, artificial intelligence, machine learning. At a minimum, the comment letters on this should be extremely interesting, so write one. The Texas State Securities Board entered an emergency cease and desist order against CoinVault Pro, accusing it of illegally and fraudulently offering cryptocurrency mining investments to Texas residents. CoinVault Pro is also accused of concealing material information about its strategy for generating and guaranteeing the returns and ensuring the cryptocurrency mining investments. It is also failing to disclose considerable risks to investors, according to the order. For those of you following data privacy, the FTC busted a developer of apps popular with children for illegally collecting kids' data without parental consent. For those of you following state gaming rules, Oklahoma State and 2 tribes with gaming compacts were approved by the Department of Interior to proceed. The Louisiana governor announced a new head of the Louisiana Gaming Control Board, but apparently with some reluctance because he also issued a statement saying he was deeply disappointed that his original pick wasn't confirmed. And finally, Tennessee announced new procedures for operating charitable gaming events. For those of you following LIBOR, the CFPB released a proposed rule regarding the anticipated discontinuation of LIBOR, including proposing examples of replacement indices that would meet Regulation Z standards. Truth in lending is Regulation Z, which is a rule that requires you to be truthful to a customer when you're issuing a loan. Additionally, the Bureau is issuing guidance, FAQs, on other important LIBOR transition topics, so be sure to check those out. For those of you following rules around diversity, race relations, and equality, the OCC released their CRA evaluations for the 17 national banks and federal savings associations. Again, the CRA is supposed to tell us if the banks are lending at the same diversity ratio of the zip code in which it's lending. Anyway, the possible ratings are outstanding, satisfactory, needs to improve, and substantial non-compliance. Of the 17 evaluations made public this month, 14 are rated satisfactory and 3 are rated outstanding. Vermont's governor issued an executive order that starts a racial equity task force. The New Jersey governor nominated the first black woman to serve on the New Jersey Supreme Court. Woo! The Oklahoma governor and first lady moderated a roundtable discussion on race with Oklahoma community leaders. And the governor of Virginia announced that the Robert E. Lee statue in Richmond will be removed. Ohio held a statewide moment of silence in remembrance of George Floyd. Georgia legislators announced a bipartisan legislation to repeal their citizens' arrest law, which allows private citizens to arrest an offender if the offense is committed in his or her presence, but essentially has become, as one legislator said, a legal defense to murder. For those of you watching SROs, NYSE Arca proposed to exempt derivative and special purpose vehicles from the requirement to obtain shareholder approval prior to issuing certain types of securities. And in federal news, the FHFA has updated its data requirements to include information related to HMDA, or the Home Mortgage Disclosure Act. Those of you following HMDA know what this means. Data that you've already been collecting since 1975 now needs to be reorganized, cleaned up, and sent through another database. The FTC sent 35 more warning letters to marketers claiming to have COVID treatment or prevention capabilities. This is the 6th set of warning letters on this topic. And in state news, North Carolina changed its rules around sales tax. Rhode Island and Vermont reopened the DMV. North Dakota's Securities Department now mandates electronic filings for all securities registration applications, investment trust notice filings, investment company fund notice filings, Reg D Rule 506 notice filings, Regulation A Tier 2 notice filings, and other security filings. You now must use the North American Securities Administrator Association electronic portal. Louisiana made revisions to its trust code, including succession laws, deed contracts for homesteads, and also changed the rules relating to group insurance. And to end on a lighter note, Illinois has jumped on the pickup and delivery of cocktails bandwagon, the one fun thing that came out of coronavirus. That's it this week for Regalytics US Alerts. Join us every Wednesday morning on LinkedIn, and for the longer version, see us on YouTube. In the meantime, stay safe and healthy, and keep trying to send me a better word for a regulator of state regulators.